It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from ticks to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we begin a Thursday, Gary, how are you?
She drives me crazy. Remember that 90s tune by the Fine Young Cannibals? I can't get that out of my mind after Biden yesterday talking about making up the story of his uncle and was he eaten by cannibals? And, you know, the military says, no, he was lost in open sea. But it's like he's just got to embellish stories. But yeah. I love the whole cannibal thing. And as you mentioned, the best thing about it, and by the way, that was during World War II, the best thing is you said he paused as if he was trying to find the right word to use, as if cannibals, using the word cannibals, might be politically incorrect.
Well, you're going to offend them. I mean, you can't. I mean, I think it's dietary diversification, I think is what you and I came up with.
Yes. It's not cannibalism. It's dietary diversification.
Yeah. Their dietary DEI is David, Ellen, and Isaac. I mean, it was so bizarre. And it was and I watched it probably 10 times. I was like, why did he pause? He's looking for the woke word for cannibalism. That's what he's looking for. His mind is working on it's working overtime all the time anyway. You know, he's lost anyway.
Oh man.
But he was searching for the politically correct word for cannibalism. And I thought, that's perfect.
He had such a bad day yesterday that I was thinking to myself, this may be the path to Trump winning. If Trump's in court all the time, and the public believes that, and you know, that hit yesterday, the poll showing that it's just a third of the public that believes that in this hush money case that he broke the law in any way, which means the public is paying attention.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, hey, it might be best if Trump is just in there in jail and just comes out and rails against the two-tier system of justice, and Biden is out everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Reverse it again.
Yeah.
He was just he was horrible yesterday. Man. I mean, the gaffes he made yesterday, it was like, wow.
Well, and you looked at the people around him while he's talking. He got to the cannibals part, and it's just, there is so much, and I'm thinking to myself, if I could only learn what these people are thinking in the moment that he says that. You're standing there, and this liar of a president is telling you a story, a bogus story, and you know it's bogus. You know when he starts talking about a family member trying to relate. By the way, it had nothing to do with anything, and he's trying to relate something. And then he ends it and kind of looks around at the individuals in front of him. Like, you know, hey, can you believe that? Hey, isn't that crazy? Hey, can you believe? Because he, went on to make the point about Trump, again, lying about something that even John Bolton said didn't happen. The comments that were allegedly made by the former president and about people in the military and people that served in World War II. And but they have to use those lies. But in order to get to the lie that he thought was relevant, he had to make up a lie about a family member and include cannibalism. Wow.
Let's stop calling it cannibalism. What it is food insecurity.
There you go.
And therefore they have no choice.
Yes. And by the way, don't judge unless you've eaten a human.
Right.
Don't judge unless you've eaten another human. And I don't mean, biting somebody. I mean 3-course meal.
Well, I can see Biden coming out because, they're not tough on crime. That Dahmer was a victim.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine. Oh, my God. Anthony Hopkins. Why, hello, Joe. It's good to see you again. This is...
Well, but the thing is,
do you hear in the night? Do you hear the pollsters screaming?
you made the best point where it's like he starts talking as soon as he mentions a relative or something in his life. It's like everything stops for me. Yeah, it's like, where's he going to go here?
No,
what kind of huge lie is he going to come up with?
He comes up with the name that they called him. Uncle Bozo. What was the name? I forget the name they called him. And because and that's what I'm looking around. This is why I had to watch it 10 times. It's like, here's the setup. We are going. You know that moment you get on that really dangerous roller coaster, and it starts, and you're going, oh crap! I didn't really want to do this. And that was the look on the faces of the people standing around him when he starts talking about a family member, and he's going down one of these bizarre roads with this story. And they're just going, oh, my gosh. Oh, no. No, I did not want to get on this roller coaster. Oh, my gosh. It was so bad. It was so bad. Oh, my gosh. When it started hitting social media, it wasn't long. It was about an hour and a half after he said it. It really started to blossom on social media. It was like, oh man, here we go. This is going to play forever.
Uncle Bozo. Was it Bossy or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. This
is Reuters. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Biden again related the story about the man he called Uncle Bossy.
Okay.
So he related again the story of the man he called. I just love the way they put it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it's like, okay, because at that point on the, we called him Uncle Bozy. I thought, okay, pause it right there. We got somebody, Barry Weiss. Look, she's doing important work. I know. Somebody with, critical thinking skills, that's a true journalist. I'm just asking you to do this one favor for me. Call around to his family and ask if anybody called him Uncle Bozy. Because I suspect that's a lie. Hey, we called him Uncle Bozy. Yeah, that's a good one. Bozy, yeah. I went Bozy. Everybody in the family's going, no, nobody ever called him that. Nope. And that's the thing.
Uncle Bozy and Corn Pop.
And Corn Pop. My gosh. Corn Pop. You know what was firing in his brain that day? He's thinking about, he just picks up a name, and it's basically, he's fresh off breakfast, he had a bowl of Corn Pops for breakfast, and he just picks up, like on the street, Corn Pop's going to be, a gang name, right?
Well, but when I heard Corn Pop, I'm like, well, that's something that they would have come up with in Dragnet in the 60s.
Right.
Well,
no, that's not a street gang. That's a gang out of Lubbock. Corn Pop. He's a rancher and farmer and also a gang member. It's so weird how his mind thinks. It's just weird. And I'm so interested in how it plays out, the psychology of it all, of the people that are standing around him, that are thinking, this is not going to end well.
Which makes me wonder because Biden seems to be focused on the cannibalism aspect of it, that didn't happen. There's no evidence it happened at all.
Right.
Are they going to try to is the left's new thing? Hey, look, if you're going to say a man is a woman, well, then anything goes with the insanity of that mindset.
Right.
Are they going to try to normalize cannibalism?
Yeah, why not?
Is there going to be a faction? Is there going to be the pro-choice cannibalism section of the Democratic Party?
Because he's blaming the death of his uncle, who, you would extrapolate out would be a war hero. He's blaming the death of a war hero on cannibals. So is there going to be an apology later today? Listen, we did not mean to offend any of those who practice dietary diversity.
Because of their food insecurity.
Because of their food insecurities. We will not judge. Buttigieg calls, I'm going vegan. I mean, seriously.
Don't criticize them. Don't criticize them unless you're on one of their islands one time and you don't have a leg to stand on anymore.
Hey, could you give me a hand? Over here? Oh, my God. Yeah. It's just crazy, just bizarre. The whole day was. After that, there was everything, all bets were off. I mean, we were going through the impeachment votes, you know. Mm-hmm. We're all basically, all of us who were following that, all of a sudden that dropped in, the whole Biden Uncle Bozo thing dropped in, and we're like, what? No, where's the vote? Where's the vote? Oh, man, it was wild.
It's bedtime story day with Joe Biden.
Yeah.
We predicted, we said there's no other way the Democrats can go. They can't let anything out about Mayorkis. What they did yesterday, they did because they're so fearful because of the lies and because of the lies and the premeditated, calculated way that this administration has said, to hell with the citizens of the United States. We're going to make the border an absolute chaos zone that has now affected everyone. And so it isn't look, the Republicans knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
They knew this was going to happen. They know. And the Democrats knew they were going to vote this way, and they voted this way because they know. Because if they thought the Republicans had a weak point, if they thought that what the Republicans were bringing forth was bogus, they would have welcomed it.
Yeah.
And they're scared to death about Mayorkis. And now, remember, he's still there for the Republicans to pound on. Right. And they can say every single Democrat voted to keep Mayorkis in there.
Yep.
And all you have to say is this, and because your goal is to get independence, all you have to say is this, and this would attract your Republican vote is safe, but the independents out there that Mayorkis, I forgot what I was going to say. It just popped out of my head.
Well, first of all, you got to vote along party lines, and
no. Is no one held accountable for what's going on at the border? That's what I want to say. Is nobody going to be held accountable for what they have done at the border? It's time that you hold them. The Democrats don't care about what's going on at the border.
No.
If we had a weak case, then they would have heard it. They know we have a strong case to show that Mayorkis is lying to you, the administration is lying to you. He lied before Congress, and all you have to say is, he didn't lie before Congress. He said the border was secure.
Yep.
Now, where are independents going to go? Well, no, Mayorkis is an honest person. Well, everybody knows that he's a pathological liar.
Right.
Every Democrat knows he's a pathological liar. Every Democrat knows that the president is a pathological liar on the border.
Right.
And a lot of other things, but on the border, when they said it was secure, everybody knows they were lying.
Yep.
And he lied under oath. That to me was always the one. If you take pre-Democrats changing the standard for impeachment with Trump, that would have been the most solid one pre-impeachment, that he lied before Congress.
Yeah, right.
And said the border was secure.
Right.
And that's where you can get him. When it comes to, you can advocate your responsibility as somebody completely as a president of the United States, as this president does, and it doesn't rise to high crime and misdemeanors. But remember, they went after Trump for nowhere where he broke the law when it came to anything that happened with Ukraine. And the same thing with January 6th. He was never charged.
Right.
He was never charged. Nobody's even brought up an insurrection for any of the charges for anybody there or the president of the United States.
No, that's a media term.
Right. And so they had nothing there. There was no high crime and misdemeanor.
Right.
Here you have one lying directly to Congress, and you can see, people can visibly see, they've seen it over and over again, the insanity at the border.
Yep.
And so it's not as great of a win for Republicans if they were allowed to have a trial, but they can use this and say every single Democrat voted to have no accountability at the border.
Yep.
Every single member of the Senate, including the vulnerable senators coming up, and that was really the focus of Republicans.
Right.
And that's something that I want to talk about. There's this expectation from Republicans, and it's like, you need to start paying attention to what's going on, to a lot of Republicans out there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why aren't we impeaching? Why aren't we impeaching Biden? Why aren't we impeaching this? Where's he impeached? It was never the goal to impeach.
No.
The goal is to win in November.
Right.
And so what you do is you bring it up, and you always keep the weakest parts of a political party where they're the weakest. That's what you pound on in the months before the election.
Yep.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Cold weather takes a toll on trucks. As warmer weather rolls in, it's time to assess the impact winter has had on your vehicle to help avoid downtime and keep your rig rolling through to next winter. Spring temperature swings can cause your tire pressure to fluctuate. Start your spring maintenance routine by checking your tire pressure and make sure your tires are properly inflated based on the load you're hauling. Underinflated tires cause premature wear, reduced fuel economy, and premature tire failures. Take care of your tires now before you find yourself stranded roadside this spring.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up, we got tons of audio from the short impeachment trial, which again, we predicted. If you listen to us, we said that the Democrats cannot let this go forward.
Right.
And we said if we were political consultants to Democrats, you cannot let this go forward at all. You got to
bury it.
Stop this day one because it would be too damaging.
Yep.
The public is on the side of the Republicans here. And all you have to do as a Republican, and we'll play some of the Republicans and what they had to say after it and refusing to do it. That's where you have them, because everybody, we know all the polls out there. Mm-hmm. By the way, another poll on abortion. You see that? Mm-hmm. The Rasmussen, 66%.
Yeah.
66%. Believe that abortion should have limits.
Right.
And that's, bingo, that's it right there where the abortion discussion's only going in one direction from now on. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Mm. But all the polls show, every single poll shows that Americans believe that what's going on at the border is Biden's fault.
Yep.
And Mayorkis is the point person. He is the cold, callous person who testifies and seems to have no compassion at all. And they're going to pound on this. As they should, Republicans.
About to trigger somebody right now. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Listen when and where you choose if you can't listen live overnight. Before we get to this audio cut, and in fact, it's an audio cut of Ted Cruz yesterday, and the reason I played it, we just, during the break, we just played portions of it, and I looked at you and said, how did Democrats defeat that argument? And,
you can't.
And that's the point here. And whether it is the impeachment inquiry on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, which is going to end up, as Comer again said yesterday, in what do you call it? Not criminal indictments, but criminal referrals to the Department of Justice, and you have Republicans complaining, or I mean the rank and file.
Yeah,
I don't mean the members of Congress, but they're saying, because we hear it. Where's the impeachment? How come they're not going? They're never following through on it, and that was never the goal. The goal was never to have an impeachment trial on Joe Biden over the summer and early fall.
right.
It was to bring out more information and more information and more information so you can pound it day in and day out. It's just what I view it's part of the entire campaign strategy for Republicans.
Yeah,
and has
right.
been just pound on this stuff, pound on the corruption. But even more than the corruption, that's a part of it. I don't think it's a big part of it. Not as big as immigration is, because immigration has actually affected people now all across the United States. Thank you, Governor Abbott.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Biden was shipping the migrants all over the country to begin with, but it was Abbott that brought light to it.
Yeah,
brought the sunlight
yeah,
to
the
it.
media made
Right.
the bad guy in Abbott. They
Right.
had their bad guy in Abbott. They didn't go after Biden. They were never going to go after Biden for doing it, but they went after Abbott.
And, you and I were discussing the differences in some of the polls on abortion the other day.
Yeah, right.
And
Where it's going, the movement in those polls.
Yes, and I got a little surly. I'll admit it. I know when I get a little bit surly.
I thought you were going to hang up on me.
I got a little but we agreed overall on the
Yeah.
and brother, we really did agree on everything
Sure.
there. But when you look at the polls on the border, the Biden has tried to blame Trump for it. That didn't work from day one.
Right.
It's like, no, you're the president. You're in charge of it. Everything that has gone on from the whole thing, because the president's been his own worst enemy. I can do an executive order. I can't do an executive order. Well, he's looking at executive orders. The media reports. Well, I can't do executive orders.
Right.
And everyone knows that the reason that the border is like it is today is because Biden reversed executive orders from Trump.
Right.
We all know it.
Yep.
And so this was never about, the Republicans knew they were never, if, the trial was held, they were never going to get enough Democrats to kick Mayorkis out of office.
Right.
They don't want Mayorkis out of office.
No.
All they want to do is pound over and over and over again a debate point that the Democrats have no answer to.
Right.
And that's why you saw what happened yesterday, because if the Democrats thought that the Republicans' case was extremely weak, they would have welcomed this.
Yep.
Because they would have believed we can destroy the Republicans here, and we can actually make Mayorkis and therefore Biden a sympathetic figure in this whole border debacle.
Yep.
And we can convince the American public that the only reason this is happening is because we don't have an expedited system to allow illegal immigrants to cross the border and become citizens immediately.
Right.
They know they couldn't do it. So, no, the Republicans didn't get, all of what they wanted yesterday, but they've got a talking point now all the way through the election that every single Democrat senator, every single one, voted to have someone held accountable for what has been going on at the border during the Biden administration. Someone tell me how you lose that argument in the arena of ideas with the public.
Well, and it's playing out the effects of it are playing out. Again, not in the abstract. It's not like it was years ago when they were creating sanctuary city policy, sanctuary county, sanctuary state policy. They were, back then it was, well, if you're against us, you're a racist. Because when or if people come here, we want them to, and of course, we all knew, well, they're already there. They're already coming here. We know this. And there was no focus on it because, you don't have the situation. You didn't have the situation like you do now. And in the media now, you said many times that, look, it's a local story. In New York, it's a local story. Mayor Adams is getting hit hard. The mayor of Denver, Mayor Brandon in Chicago, getting hit hard by their own party.
Mayor of L.A.
The
rich need to buy homes for the homeless and migrants.
Gosh,
I mean,
it's insane. And so when you look at that and you say to yourself, okay, well, what is the effect? Well, the effect is playing out every single day because now every city is a border town, and that's exactly the effect of all this, which is it could be so far. I think it's one of the greatest national contributions that Governor Greg Abbott has made, to the nation. He's done some great things in Texas, but and we've criticized him on a number of things too, on energy and everything else, and how this, the whole debacle. We've talked about that, in fact, in recent days. But when you look at the border issue, it's there every day. And I don't know, I guess we'd have to go back and look at polls, from 10, 15 years ago and see where Americans prioritized, the border. I can't recall. But for the border to be number one, in recent days, you've had a couple of Democrats, at least one Democrat, suggesting that the Democrats should start promoting that they want to build a wall, a barrier or a wall.
Democratic pollster and consultant Douglas Schoen in thehill.com last week actually said he put the wall or barriers.
Right.
But he actually said the wall.
Yeah.
And you and I talked last week about when you've got, whether it was Douglas Schoen and at the same time it was also Roy Teixeira, who's somebody who's been runs the Liberal Patriot, as they call it, which is looking at Democrats and saying, you got everything wrong here.
Right.
And basically both of them were saying, in order for them to win, the Democrats to win, they believe, now these are two Democrats, that the Democratic Party has to basically endorse MAGA ideas.
Right.
That's what they were communicating.
It
was mind-boggling. If you heard it last week, we were like, where are we?
What?
Are we drinking that beer that's still in the refrigerator out there in the kitchen?
Right.
Because it was just nuts. But let's play a little bit of Ted Cruz here yesterday, because we just played less than, I think it was a minute of it. It's a long speech, but in a minute of it, he covers everything that the Democrats can't win. And the goal of the Republicans should be take those 5 issues, the top 4 or 5 issues, and pound them over and over again until election time. And yesterday, actually, was free advertising for the Republicans on a point of view that the majority of Americans agree with them on.
Right.
Here we go.
In the 237 years of our nation's history, I don't know that there has been a more shameful day in the United States Senate than today. What we just witnessed was a travesty. It was a travesty to the United States Constitution, and it was a travesty to the American people. And it's important to understand why the Democrats did what they did. We're here on the Senate floor right now, but I want the record to reflect I'm going to do a very accurate count of the number of Democrats who are with us. That would be 0, other than the presiding officer, and somebody has to preside. Not a single Democrat senator chose to come to this floor and listen to one word of evidence. When it comes to the Constitution, the Democrats concluded that Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkis, defying federal law, ignoring the text of the statute, deliberately releasing criminal illegal aliens over and over and over again, that's just hunky-dory. You can't impeach him for that. Every Democrat just voted. By the way, every cabinet member, guess what? You've just been given a blank slate. Ignore the law. When Democrats are in charge of the Senate, the entire cabinet could ignore the law. It is no longer impeachable in Democrat wonderland when a member of the executive branch openly defies the law. By the way, every Democrat just voted that way. They didn't hear one word of argument. The majority leader didn't stand up and say, here's the reason why it's okay. No, he didn't present that argument. They didn't read a brief. Nobody wrote a brief. They didn't care enough to know what Senator Lee just laid out, that the Biden Department of Justice went in front of the U.S. Supreme Court and said if the executive defies the law, the answer is impeachment. The willingness of every Democrat to be blatantly hypocritical. Just last year, the Biden Justice Department said, no. You can't sue in court when we, the Biden administration, defy the law. The answer is impeachment. In like three-card money. Every Senate Democrat said, no. The answer is not impeachment. I don't know what it is. Actually, I do know what it is. There's only one answer left, which is everyone who is unhappy about the open border shows up in November, and to use the phrase, throw the bums out. Because if you're not willing to do your job, is there not one senator on that side of the aisle who cares enough to honor the Constitution? By the way, the second article they threw out said lying to Congress is not a high crime or misdemeanor, it's not impeachable. Now, as the senator from South Carolina pointed out, Bill Clinton was impeached for lying under oath. And you know what happened? And he was ultimately acquitted. But after a full trial where they heard the evidence, where the Senate did its job. By the way, one of the impeachment managers was Senator Graham, who presented that evidence right here on this floor. And you know what? Before Bill Clinton, there's a guy named Walter Nixon. You may not know who Walter Nixon is. Walter Nixon was a federal judge who was convicted of perjury. He was from Mississippi. He was convicted of perjury in front of a grand jury. And he was impeached. And it went to the Senate, and the Senate convicted him and removed him from the bench. So you want to know what the precedents were prior to today? You commit a crime, lying under oath, perjury, it is a high crime or misdemeanor that is...
There you go. I just wanted to play part of it. We're running out of time, but this goes on for a long time. But he, like I said, any Democrat argue the points that Cruz made.
You can't. As he pointed out, they didn't even write a brief.
Yeah.
They couldn't argue it there. They can't make any point as to why they did what they did. We know why they did what they did, and the point is that, and he's pointing out that they don't have any argument against these things, and the American people see it. This is not going to help the Democrats at all.
Well, the other thing I would point out, I don't know, he might have said it later in the speech, is this also shows that every single Democrat senator is for breaking federal law to create chaos at the border and in all of our major cities that are Democrats. And this is what they need to do. They need to reach out to Democrats. Look at this. We're trying to hold somebody accountable for what's going on. And remember, you may say blame Abbott, but remember, in your city, Biden has sent many more migrants than Abbott has.
Right.
So this has affected you and every single Democrat that represents you.
They wouldn't be here for Abbott to send if that border wasn't open in the first place, if that border was secure in the first place. So blaming Abbott goes nowhere.
Yep. And you win the argument.
Yep.
And that's what
all day
the Republicans have to do all the way through to November. And you don't let this lie. You bring this up constantly.
Every day.
Yeah. Every Democrat voted to allow the executive branch to break the law and create absolute chaos in the border and allow criminal, illegal immigrants into the United States.
They don't believe in the law. They don't believe in the law.
866-98-RED-I.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-I.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up here, the NPR editor ends up resigning as the NPR CEO. Wow, that was really incredible. Some of the stuff that they've come up with, some of the things that she's talked about at the TED speech, where she says basically that the truth gets in the way of bringing people together.
Right.
And so the truth may not be the most important thing.
Right.
Wow.
The truth is paramount, but not to the left.
Yeah, I know.
It's not.
It's really
well, because
amazing.
and we've talked about this before. How many times have we heard it? Well, we don't care if they lie. You know, I'm a Democrat. I vote Democrat. I don't care. I know they're lying. They know they're lying, but I don't care. It gets the job done.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We are all across America, the world, universe, because radio signals go a long way, and the internet could be everywhere, and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Hey, did John Mellencamp calm down yet?
I don't. Here's the thing: is you're an enormously successful rock star. You're on stage. You bring up Biden. Your audience boos. You've made your living. Your entire position was that you were going to be your middle America. Your ain't that America? Little pink houses for you and me.
Jack and Diane.
I was born in a small town. Jack and Diane. With Kenny Aronoff's little drum riff in it. One of the greatest drum riffs in rock and roll.
And you've heard him talk about that.
Yeah.
And
how he came up
by the
with
way,
it.
that guy, when he talked about the fact, that it's interesting because I always wonder what his politics is. He was when they did that tribute to Glenn, or not to Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
He was a drummer for them.
Yeah.
But he just talks about how basically he's got to be a conservative because he talked about how every single day you got to go in there and own it.
You got it,
when you're a session player. And he was also in the documentary
Hired Guns,
which is a great documentary about these are the people that don't get high.
Right.
These are the people that aren't drinking.
You've got to get it right every show or you're
right.
gone.
They're the members of the band that got to make sure that the band actually gets the approval of the audience.
Right.
But go ahead, because you were making some great points yesterday after we were off the air.
The thing is you've made your living. If you're John Mellencamp, you've made your living. You've got this massive catalog of music. By the way, I've seen him a few times, and it's it was when I saw him. It's over a 3-hour show. And every song you know every song. And it's been, he's making it, it's this middle America feel. You really don't know or care where his politics are. It's just this, oh man, that's a great song. That I relate to that. And, hey, I was born in a small town, look, I was thinking about painting my house pink or things like that, where.
Remember they had the little pink house where they gave one away?
MTV.
Yeah.
And it's, those things are, and you did it while people were still paying for music. They were actually, and for those under the age of 40, people used to pay for music.
I still do.
So it's, then you get on stage and you want to, first of all, how do you not know? You're not at a rally for Biden. You're not playing a rally.
Right.
The other night, I think it was at Mar-a-Lago. I believe it was Lee Greenwood, who got up there on the stage, a friend of the show, by the way, a great guy, always does a great performance of God bless the USA, and he got up there at I don't think it was the stage. I think it was on the steps there at Mar-a-Lago, fundraiser for Trump, and then and saying God bless the USA. You know, when you're in that setting, then of course you're going to stop the music and you're going to go, hey, look, this is why I support Biden. This is why, and everybody there knows why you're there. And then
Support Trump.
Well, in this case, John Mellencamp supporting Biden.
Right.
You know, if you're at a rally for Biden, you know, you say,
Oh,
hey,
the rally, yes.
yeah. And so if you're in that setting, then everybody knows you already know how diverse your audience is. You also know the age of your audience because he hasn't had a radio hit in a long time. It's not young people. There might be a few young people that are there, you know, with their grandparents. I would take one of my granddaughters to the show. Maybe a couple of my grandsons would probably also like the music. They're younger, but it's that middle America, middle class, middle aged, maybe slightly older audience. And you know you know that a lot of them are not going to vote for Biden, or you should know that. Stopping the show and then getting booed, you had to have known. Also, you're playing to a beer audience. You're playing to a beer drinking audience. If anyone's ever had a beer drinking audience, I mean, you should have known when half of them were, between every song, were shouting, "Free Bird!" And that's not even your song. That's the problem. And you don't know your audience, and you don't know why they're there. And then they boo. And instead of saying, well, hold on, hear me out, which, man, I'd love to hear him out on Biden. That would be great. No, please, go ahead. You've already started. You've already stopped the show. Go ahead. But instead of saying, I know, guys, I know a lot of you don't support him. I know a lot of you don't like him. But he just went full on. What do you mean? I don't have to be up here.
Well,
what is and it's
when he said, "This is a performance."
Yeah,
I do performances, not concerts. Well, it's news to me.
The ticket says in concert.
It's
on the ticket. It actually says in concert.
Didn't say political performance. Go ahead.
Right. It's by the way, I don't know that. I have no idea what the ticket said. But it's it used to say in concert. But the whole thing is, you know what you're doing there. You know what the setting is. And you also should know and respect your audience because they're there for your music. In a time of massive inflation caused by your guy, you're looking at them and scolding them after they took their hard-earned money and bought a high-priced ticket. And I don't care if it's only $80. That's a lot of money to me because I'm not going by myself. My wife's coming with me. It's $160 plus fees and parking,
which makes it easily over 1,000.
Exactly. And you're scolding your audience instead of saying, "Listen, I respect that. I know that a lot of you guys don't like him, but here's why I like him, and I hope you'll just listen for just a second and understand why I have this position, and we're going to get back to the music. I know why you're here." And then all of a sudden storms off stage like a little baby. You know, he's become this angry guy. You know, he's on stage and it's almost as if he's saying, "What are you people staring at?" You, John, you're on stage. And he's been angry for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't see what you're angry about. But he's angry about everything. You know, you smoke a lot. I don't smoke, while he's puffing on a cigarette. Well, maybe I do, but it's none of your business.
As I said yesterday, he reminds me of the Ted Danson character Becker, who's angry all the time about everything. He's just always angry, and that to me, it's funny because wasn't just the other day. It's the fact that this has been going on for years. It's just he's known as an angry guy. He's just angry.
Well,
and who's the comedian John? You heard he went nuts on stage because of the Hispanic the Hispanic voters going for him. The guy that was on John Wick one, the car mechanic.
John Leguizamo.
Yeah. He apparently threw a fit the other day too, not understanding why people don't want Biden,
right?
And especially why Hispanics are moving away. He's just livid, about that. But there's a lot of the entertainers are going to be angry as hell because they fear that Trump could be president again.
Well, that's the thing is that, for people like Mellencamp, and a lot of these people on the left and celebrities and other people on the left, they're angry. They're angry at one guy. There might be behavior that makes me angry. I don't carry that anger in the case of anything that in the political world. And I know you and I have calluses, and it's different because we're steeped in this. We've been doing this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, if I weren't doing this, I would. It would be the same because once you give them that kind of power, and by the way, you're giving them way too much power. Because the fact of the matter is that when you get down to the reality of Donald Trump, he may be. You could say, well, some things he's done on social media or things he's said in the past. The guy's a real jerkfish or whatever. You judge his mannerisms, but when you judge him as a president, or you judge him, in fact, when you judge him with the truth involved, Charlottesville goes away. The comment that Biden yesterday, when he brought up his Uncle Bozo, was trying to blame him for that. Even John Bolton, who wrote, remember,
suckers and losers.
Suckers and losers, and
was never said.
It was never said. And Bolton, remember, wrote the whole tell-all book while Trump was still in office, which I suspect Bolton was always out to do. That's the only reason he took national security advisor.
He hated Trump.
And
happen.
He just wanted to get some book material. Clearly, the only time he ever smiled is when he left office and got a book deal. It's the only time John Bolton's ever smiled. And he came back and said, no, that whole thing didn't happen, but these lies that they have to come up with, all these lies, when you break all that down, and I think one example is the actor Michael Rappaport, who you could say in the past was a very angry liberal. He was angry about a lot. He's still angry. He's not as liberal. Or at least I'll say this. I don't know how liberal he is. I can't measure that. But he's seeing things now that he didn't see before because he's stopping down to do the homework and not repeating everything. And these are the things that drive, the anger in the left. And this is what you see in John Mellencamp. He's angry at you for not agreeing with him. He's angry at his own fans who have been his bread and butter from day one. You and I go back to the Johnny Cougar days.
Yeah.
The label came up with a name that they wanted to, I don't know, they were trying to go the James Dean route or whatever.
I Need a Love that, whatever that song
Won't Drive Me Crazy,
Yeah, that was when he was John
Yeah.
Cougar. At that same time, I do believe that REO Speedwagon was still viewed more as a Southern rock progressive band, too.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I know that was the label's idea, and he didn't like that idea, which is why he went back to Mellencamp and the whole thing. But you have this massive catalog of music that the fans built. You wrote the music, you put it out there, the fans ate it up, consumed it for years to the point that you've done shows in large venues for a long time, and they'll still show up today, even though musically you haven't been relevant in a long time. And you want to scold them because you decide you're going to start a rally right in the middle of your concert. Look, I've seen it happen. I was at the Eagles. Hell Freezes Over. tour. Wow, that goes back over 30 years. And Melissa Etheridge opened. She was great. Music was great. I was expecting more political stuff coming from her. Well, they stopped and did something about, it was conservation. Henley, does a lot of the conservation stuff, and it was about an eagle. One of the, I forget which species of eagle, they brought a handler up on stage with an eagle halfway through the show. And you could see people, this is at the old Cowboy Stadium in Irving, and you could see people getting up in masses going toward the bathrooms during that. And it wasn't overly political. Where you certainly know where Henley, but it was one of those things like, okay, I guess it's time for a bathroom break thing. And it wasn't offensive at all. Nobody booed. They may have in the bathroom, but I didn't hear that. And you now have this point of Mellencamp is angry. The left is angry because they think you're stupid. That's what you heard him doing on stage was, you people are stupid. I mean, it was a Bud Light moment. It really was. You have no respect for who your patrons are, who your fans are in this case, and how they believe and why they believe what they believe.
Look, you have to understand your role. If you go to a Rage Against the Machine, well, you can't because they broke up.
Right.
But if you go there, you're going to get socialist, Marxist propaganda thrown at you. I mean, you go for that, or you don't care.
Right.
You know what you're going to get.
Yep.
You go, you're somebody just going through regular life. You don't know John Mellencamp is a, wacko liberal.
Right.
You just know the songs.
Right.
And you go to see the songs, and he's very popular in the Midwest.
Right.
And boom, that's his audience.
Right.
Flyover country. And
Right.
then you start lecturing people that they should vote for Biden. And when they boo you, then you start screaming at the people who gave their hard-earned money to you in a time of inflation to see you play music.
Yeah.
You're insulting.
Yeah.
You're insulting your bosses at that point.
Yep.
Because the people that are paying are your bosses.
And you're implying something's wrong with them.
Yep. Just amazing. Then he walks off stage. Then he comes back later on, and it's like, I'm a child.
It's like a 3-year-old.
I'm so angry. I am so angry that you people are so stupid that I'm going to act like a child. And that'll show you.
You're going to throw a tantrum.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Like the chief financial officer of any company, you have to be concerned about rising costs, especially without increases in revenue. Trying to reduce costs, let alone make sense of them, can be a complicated task. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. A penny saved could be $1,000 earned. Saving just 1 penny per mile over 100,000 miles driven annually will deliver $1,000 to the bottom line at the end of the year. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'll give you anger of a liberal coming up following the bottom of the hour.
All right.
I mean, it's just the most bizarre thing ever. Joe Scarborough yesterday that the Republicans are anti-American, and it's the Democrats that are totally patriotic and everything else.
Yeah,
okay. I mean, it was just just bizarre.
Yeah.
Interesting how he's trying to flip the script.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if I don't know if those are his words or Mika told him to say it.
I'm sure it's
that's
Mika.
That's the problem.
I'm sure it's a directive.
But we'll get to that, and also it blew up yesterday. I mean, it just blew up. And by the way, it's not Caitlin Clark. She's not the one talking about her contract with the WNBA.
Right.
But this is all because of the president brought it up, and it was like, okay. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I saw it yesterday. Okay, you're right. Women need to make the fair share of the profits from the WNBA. There are no profits.
Right.
Zero is what they should make then.
Right.
It's like, oh my, it just was a zoo.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carney, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right. I've got to play this here. This from Morning Joe yesterday.
All right.
I wasn't sure of the date. Then I look at the crawl, and okay, it was about the banner beneath him, and it's news from yesterday. So this was yesterday. You ready for this?
All right.
Talk about this fits sort of in after the whole John Mellencamp concert meltdown that he had because the audience didn't want to hear him lecture them about Biden.
Right.
And so it made me think of just people that are angry. And this is Joe Scarborough. Remember, former Republican representative of one of the most conservative districts in the United States.
Matt Gaetz currently holds that seat.
Yes, out of Niceville, Florida, which covers Navarre, Florida. My old stomping grounds. I got to get back there someday.
It's easy to do.
Just for a day. I mean, I don't just for a day because that place has grown. I think when I was there, it was only probably 2,000-3,000 people, and I think now it's still basically a small town. It's 20,000 now, but it's 10 times the size. But and the beach there, Navarre Beach, now probably 7 or 8 tall condos, buildings and things like that, that are 15, 16, 17 stories high.
Right.
But still some of the whitest sand. And I have just such great memories there. But Joe Scarborough used to be the representative from that district. Here he is yesterday. I'm just going to play it. I don't even need to do anything except play it because we're on the topic of unhinged anger and delusion.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You ready? Here we go.
All right.
You live in the most powerful, greatest country on the face of the earth, and you're voting for a guy that tells you every day that America sucks? What's wrong with you? Who raised you? What history did you read?
That's it.
Like, where are you from? Because you may claim to be from where I'm from, but you were not raised by the same teachers I was raised by.
And then they repeat it again. So.
Well, I mean, it was liberals just a few years ago saying, who was it? Was it Cuomo? America's never been great. Who said that? Who was that?
Was that Andrew?
I think it may have been. Yeah. It was somebody that was holding office at the time. And I think it was. America's never been great. Make America great again. America's never been great.
Yeah, because that was.
And so, sorry, Joe. Go preach to your own side and don't pretend you're independent or Republican or conservative or anything else.
Yeah, there was New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said America was never that great in a speech blasting President Donald Trump on Wednesday. So, what I liked was his attempt to flip that it's the Republicans that aren't patriotic.
Right. Yeah.
That it's Democrats that are waving the flag and full of patriotism that constantly talk about how great America is.
Wait a minute. Does that mean MSNBC is promoting American exceptionalism?
Oh, that's a great point. The Democrats always
How
talking about
dare you.
American exceptionalism. I mean, there's the delusional part of it where he's actually trying to sell that because
Right.
when Trump
That the left
talks,
believes
when,
it, yeah.
when Trump talks about America right now, he talks specifically about Democrats. It's
Right.
the Democrats that suck.
Right, yeah.
His whole thing that make America great again is the fact that people have taken it down. Because what is, as we've said before, what is America? What makes you an American? Why are you an American? Well, because we geographically, no, that's not it. Because we know people that hate America, and you hear it from Democrats all the time.
Well, it's little pink houses for you and me.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But what is America is the Constitution. That's what it is. America is a set of ideals that is set down in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. Which political party is trying to change the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, Second Amendment, separation of powers? You can the 14th Amendment. We quite frequently talk about that. Who wants to take out of the Constitution the Senate, the Electoral College? Who wishes to change the Constitution of the United States? You don't hear this talk from Republicans. It's all coming from Democrats.
Right.
But I just love how he's just angry. He's just furious. But he's actually trying to sell something.
Who raised you?
Well, the thing is, so he'll probably get criticism from Democrats.
Yeah. Right.
What are you trying to say, that we're the ones that are patriotic? We're not patriotic. We hate the U.S.
Right.
What are you doing, Joe?
Come on. We're already on the Death to America thing in Michigan. Where have you been, Joe? Come on.
I guess Whitmer took over a week before she came out and finally denounced it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Tlaib ran away from was it Tlaib? Yeah, she ran away from Jackie Heinrich from Fox News.
Right.
She wouldn't answer the question.
Right.
I'm not going to answer your Fox News. I want to answer the question.
Yeah, yeah.
Death to America. Do you approve of death for America? I'm not talking to you. You're Fox News.
Right.
Very simple. Well, no, I don't wish death to America.
Right.
Wasn't it who was it? It was the left that was attempting to justify when the mullahs of Iran were saying death to America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what they really
They
mean
don't really
is,
mean death to America, death to America. You know, they just mean death to America.
Right. I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
What? You threatened me.
They just mean death to America as we know it.
I mean kill you.
Softly.
I mean kill you. I'm not really going to kill you. I'm going to just kill you.
Right.
That's,
We're just going to eliminate you.
Right.
We didn't say kill. Nobody said kill.
We're not killing you. We're getting rid of unnecessary diversity.
That's right.
And you're the unnecessary part of it.
Right. Bill Maher put it. Look, we got 8 billion people. Nobody's going to miss you.
Oh, my God. That's got to be
Seriously,
That's got to be the audio cut of the week.
Yeah.
And well, by the way, when we do audio cut of the week, it doesn't mean like it wins an award. It just means
Nobody gets money.
It's just the most bizarre
Mm-hmm.
thing, but very, very telling from Bill Maher. And you notice that you didn't have a lot of Democrats jump on and support him on that.
Right.
Did you see any response to that from anywhere on social media?
No.
From any Democrat or liberal?
Remember when he said it, the panelists were like stumped by it. They paused for a couple of seconds. They were like, whoa, what?
And you could hear murmuring through the audience, like, where the heck's he going?
Exactly.
Yeah, we all know. Abortion is sort of like murder, and we're okay with it. We're okay
Exactly.
with sort of like murder.
Yeah. Exactly.
God.
And everybody's going, what? Huh?
And Bill Maher was okay with sort of like murder because we've got overpopulation, so genocide is okay in his mind.
That's right. Nobody's going to miss you.
What other type of genocide are you going to promote, Bill?
Right.
God, do they even think before they speak?
it's clear the left is way more patriotic. Nobody's going to miss you.
We heard Joe Scarborough is going to have Lee Greenwood on tomorrow.
Land of the free, home of the fewer and fewer.
I burst out laughing. Now, a lot of people were angry with that audio cut yesterday, from Joe Scarborough.
But it is laughable.
But it is what I found really interesting was you're trying to reverse that entire narrative and say it's Republicans that hate America and Democrats that love America. What part of America do Democrats love?
Right.
What is it?
Yeah.
Can you tell us? Because what I love is the Constitution, and I know Democrats don't like the Constitution.
Right.
So what else is America besides the Constitution? What is it?
Right.
When you talk about not the geographical America, but what is supposed to bring us all together, a set of ideas that created America. They don't believe in that set of ideas.
Nope. No, they do not. And also this once again it is virtue signaling from Joe Scarborough. He's first of all his little angry tantrums. I can see him crying on his wife's shoulder when they get home.
I know I'm getting so frustrated because I know nobody's buying what I'm attempting to sell. And then I get on and I try to say we're the patriots and the Republicans aren't, and the far left cuts on my case.
Was I angry enough, dear? Was I angry? Did you? Let's watch it again. Let's watch it again. He's watching his own show when he gets home.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
I'm just so angry. I'm Joe Scarborough. I'm so angry. Tomorrow's guest, John Mellencamp.
That's right. Anger Fest Friday. And don't come here for the music. This is not going to be a concert.
And it's gonna get worse. I mean, you see, we had quoted Michael Moore the other day, who came back. It's like, well, what's gonna take to bring Michael Moore back? Oh, Biden needs to be pro-terrorist.
It's like reparations for Hamas.
Yes, reparations for Hamas, pro-terrorism mindset. That's what brings Michael Moore back.
Yeah. If you gave him any credibility at all, ever, I don't know why you did that, but now you can stop doing that.
Well, I was expecting him to say, the hospitals in Gaza controlled by Hamas are better than our medical system here in the United States.
I'm sure at some point he has said that out loud, maybe not while on the air anywhere, but I'm sure he's made the point. Wow. Talk about a sicko. Reparations for terrorists.
That's what got him. You're going to see this anger. The left's going to go just ballistic. And like I said, with Trump, a lot of time, the public doesn't buy what he's going through right now.
No.
The public doesn't buy that it's legit.
Nope.
Only a third, which means when you talk about a third of America, you're talking about the hard liberal, hard left.
Yeah.
Everyone else looks at the trial going on and thinks it's bogus. So if Trump comes out and rails against a two-tier system of justice, the vast majority of Americans agree with him. He won't be out as campaigning as much. And Biden's out there yesterday was a disaster of a day, as we've mentioned already. It was an absolute disaster of a day for him. And so and that's the thing. They think, well, Biden can be out there criticizing Trump, going after the fact that Trump's, the trial's going on. Yeah, but the public doesn't agree with you, Joe.
Yeah.
2/3 don't agree with you.
Yeah.
That's the majority of independents, and a significant portion of Democrats believe there's a two-tier system of justice, and you speaking about it just reiterates, what's going on.
Right.
And when you get cocky about it doesn't work. And then he made so many gaffes yesterday.
Oh,
it was just unbelievable.
Just horrible.
And then the cannibal comment about Uncle Bozo, as you call him. And you're like Bozio or Bozier, or I forgot what.
Bozy.
Bozy. Bozy, yes.
Yeah.
Uncle
Bozy.
Uncle Bozy, implying that he was eaten by cannibals when he was shot down in World War II, and all the military reports say shot down over open water.
Yeah.
But Biden's got to embellish every story to make it sound
to a
like,
bizarre level. By the way, you don't have to do that.
866-98 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Wow, that blew up yesterday.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark and the WNBA and her salary. The president got involved in it 2 days ago, and then all the responses yesterday. It was back and forth, but the public understands that the president didn't have a strong argument. If you look at social media and the number of responses, people that responded and talked about, well, women need to have more opportunities. Well, that's fine. I love it. The Democrats talking about women need to have more opportunities, as the Democrats are the ones that are in Congress 99.9% behind the fact that men should play women's sports.
Yeah.
That's really, we're for the women, except when we're not.
Exactly.
It's like unbelievable, but we'll get to that coming up. And also the editor from National Public Radio, Yuri Berliner, quit yesterday. And some of the video and audio coming up about the new NPR CEO is just pretty interesting.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. Welcome. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley.
Hello.
So I'm looking here, Caitlin Clark nearing lucrative 8-figure endorsement deal with Nike, which includes a shoe.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm
just one. Does she doesn't get both?
I'm jealous. Women shouldn't make money. I'm a conservative.
Well, I think we should all be making equal money. Why does it have to be within the same job? If she's getting an 8-figure shoe deal, I want a shoe deal.
A red eye shoe.
Yeah. I don't know what it would look like. And I don't know what it would do for you. I have no idea how it would help you perform in your daily activity.
Well, I know what I would want because of my ankle. The red eye shoe would help cure the arthritis in my foot.
Yeah. And or you could get
the tendonitis, whatever it is.
Right. That would be the Gary.
The Gary.
Instead of the Michael Jordan, it would be the Gary. And the Eric would be a Justin Boot. I just don't know what my friends at Justin Boots could help me out.
But when the president got involved in talking about, when her contract came out, not making 6 figures, and man, it blew up on social media yesterday, and it was just the greatest. It was like she needs to be paid the fair share of the profits. That actually was written by somebody, and it was like, they make 0, so she should make 0?
Right.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Right.
And then, oh, man. It's one of his best bits, the Bill Burr one on the WNBA. And this actually was from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's when Megan Rapinoe came out. He was screaming that the soccer players should make more.
Yeah.
And he was saying the reason that women athletes don't make as much, with some exceptions. And he mentioned the Williams sisters, women in the UFC, for example, that, they make more. He goes, nobody watches your sports.
That's what it comes down to.
And he's screaming. And he was talking about the fact that, they're looking at men going, this is all misogyny. He goes, what are you talking about? Women, you don't watch sports.
Right.
Because women, you don't watch women's sports.
No. Nope.
The data shows it. You don't watch it to any great level.
Right.
And he said, there's no money.
Right.
Nobody goes.
Got to be an audience.
And he said, and so it was like, and the audience is just, you can hear women dying laughing.
Yeah.
But one of the points he makes is he said, why is this on men? He goes, I've got my men's sports.
Right.
Why aren't you watching women's sports? And he said, the reason they don't make, reason they don't make as much money as the men is because they don't make any money. And he said, now. And he goes, the Kardashians, which, as we know, that's a female audience.
Mm-hmm.
And he just rails at Kardashians and going, they're billionaires because that's what women watch. And the housewives of New Jersey or New York or whatever, he goes, you watch that.
Right.
He said women don't want to watch women coming together for a common goal to win a game. They want to see women destroying each other.
Right.
Like,
He says, name the WNBA team in your town.
Audience goes nuts.
Yeah.
And you can hear the women laughing.
Name the top 5 players.
Right. And he goes, why is this on men?
You can name all the Kardashians.
Right. You women want to watch the Kardashians. You want to watch things that are not about women coming together to try to get a goal. You want to see women destroying each other.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see. That's what women want to see. Oh, and the women are laughing the hardest in there.
Right.
And then he goes, it's not on us. This is on you. He said, geez, you want us to buy the drinks? You want us to go after the axe murderer coming through the window? And then you want us to watch the WNBA too? When are you going to lift your side of the couch? It was just great. Oh, my.
Yeah.
Oh, so dang funny.
Yeah.
But it is the point that, if you had, if women were really interested, he goes, where are the feminists?
Mm.
Yeah. But then again, the feminists now want men to play women's basketball. And that's the hilarious thing, the left throwing out this equal pay for equal work when they're the ones that want men to take over the WNBA. They'd be fine with it.
Right.
But it was just, oh, man, I'm telling you.
It's a great bit.
It's funny. It is a funny bit. And the thing is, you can hear the laughter. It's a pretty big audience.
Oh, yeah.
But the laughter, you can hear the women coming through.
Yeah.
And they're laughing the hardest. And it's like, what do women watch? Because men don't watch the Kardashians. It's not men watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Men aren't watching the Real Housewives. That's a woman audience.
Right.
And he's making the point that where you watch, what you are watching on TV, as we said yesterday, it's important that, people show up to the games, and it's becoming, they're charging a lot more for, we know for the NFL, personal seat licenses, everything else, to the point that we view it as just being absurd because I just don't, for me, it's simply a marketplace situation where I look at professional sports today for the most part, and the tickets are way too expensive for me, and I can afford them. But it doesn't matter whether I can afford them. I'm not going to pay. I've got this protein shake here. I'm not going to spend $50 for a protein shake.
Right.
All right? $1, maybe $2, maybe whatever it is when I buy in bulk. But yeah, so I still want to return. And everything you want to return on the investment, and that means you're satisfied with the price that you pay no matter what you're earning. I really don't go to major league sports anymore because The price is too great. It's not worth what they charge me. I don't get the entertainment value is not there for me anymore.
Right.
It used to be, but I used to, we with the whole Buffalo Bills and their personal seat licenses that became, a national story. And that's because, one of the complaints is, well, half that stadium's being built by taxpayers. We're already paying once.
Mm-hmm.
You look at, I think it was L.A., for example, where they're through the roof, but that was all private.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we're already paying for it. And the governor got involved and the county executive got involved. This is just not right. And it's like, why is it so expensive? Why are the personal seat licenses? And then it comes out, well, that's because Jerry Jones' company is doing that for the Buffalo Bills. And
Right.
it's like, oh, you're dead.
Well, he doesn't want to stand out anymore. Come on, you can just spread all that out.
Yeah, his
Make sure all the new stadiums have it.
Well, and his company probably is making a percentage of the personal seat licenses
I'm sure.
that they, that they get. And so when you see, the overall cost in that, and as I made the comment the other day, I said, I remember when I was a kid, we used to go to Bills games, and we remember how special it was when we went from the $4 end zone seats to the other end zone that was covered in the old War Memorial Stadium, which is a stadium, if you've ever watched the movie The Natural. And you look at it and you go, oh, that was a darn old stadium. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was really old. It's like, okay, they had to make that, they really had to work to make that stadium look old. No, they didn't have to do a dang thing. But we paid $5.50 to get in the covered end zone, and we thought, oh, man, we were the richest people alive.
Yeah.
But now I look at the prices, and it's like, no. So that's for me. But as for the price that the athletes, make, what they make, it's based on the revenue. Excuse me, it's based on the profits. One of the things we saw again yesterday, and the Democrats seem to be jumping on this, well, they have $60 million or $200 million in revenue. Revenue means nothing. Profit means everything. You can have all the revenue in the world. If you don't make a profit at the end of the day because your expenses are too great, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And the fact is, what I looked at now, I saw most commentators saying they've never made a profit. I did my research up to 2019. They had not made a profit yet, and I couldn't find anything from the WNBA after that. But I didn't see anybody with evidence that the WNBA has ever made a profit.
Right.
Sorry if you don't make a profit. This whole thing. And did we mention yesterday that, well, then everybody should make the same, and they don't even in the men's league. If you look, for example, in the NFL, they make millions of dollars. I looked at the salary for the new the UFL, United Football League, which was the XFL and the other one coming together, the USFL and the XFL, the new rock thing. Mm-hmm. And they make between, I think, $80,000 and $137,000 a year, something like that, on average for the players.
Yeah.
They're paid like $5,000 a game, but that's over 10 games, which would be $50,000, and then things add up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, they're not paid the same. Why aren't they paid the same? There's no revenue. Nobody's watching it.
Right.
TV is what matters.
Right.
And so they're trying to make this thing a whole. And I think it hurts Biden coming out and doing this from an emotional standpoint. Everyone knows meritocracy leads in sports, except for the the liberal transgender insane movement out there where they wish to put men in there, which is not meritocracy for women. But everybody knows how it works in sports. It's a different ballgame. And it doesn't matter whether you're a great player. It matters who's watching you. Caitlin Clark will probably, over the next couple of years, increase the salaries. I don't know how much, because people may go to see her and may buy single-season tickets, and Indiana may do good. But I was looking at the ticket sales, and the ticket sales for her popularity, still with the WNBA, her popularity was in college, and it's still, I think there's this, okay, you got to prove yourself in the pros, but you still don't see the kind of ticket prices for the Indiana team she's playing for, what I saw yesterday, that come close to what you have to pay for the men.
Well, and here's the thing, too. the proponents of this, equal pay, the WNBA needs to be. Okay, so here's the question. Where do you draw the line? So does everyone in the WNBA need to make LeBron James money? Whose contract are we talking about? Because you can't average it out. That's not fair. This is the problem that, when they go down this road. So all the proponents who are part of the WNBA that are saying that, it's like, okay, they're looking for more money. Well, if you're president and you're running for re-election, here's some advice. Don't jump on a cause when nobody is actually aware of that cause. Don't jump onto something that nobody is watching. It's the whole point. You're jumping on something and people are going, oh, yeah, WNBA, yeah, I seem to remember that. What? What's he talking about? Nobody's watching it, and you're telling everybody that we should all push for equal pay with it, and they're going, I don't watch that. I don't care about that.
If you had, Burr, again, to be funny, it's got to be based on reality, which it was, and he exaggerated some points. But the point is, as he said, they're calling it misogyny. How's it misogyny? The men's league is subsidizing.
Women aren't watching it.
10 to 15 million. Women aren't watching it. If you had 20 million women watching the WNBA, the salaries would be much greater.
Females 18 to 49 is the money demo.
Right.
It would be through the roof.
They're not watching the WNBA. He makes a great point. Where are women making a ton of money? The Kardashians.
Yep.
And then he brought up, the success of the Housewives of New Jersey.
Right. Women
tearing each other apart because that's an all-women audience. Men don't watch that.
Right.
Very few men watch that. That program is skewed for women, and they watch it.
Yep.
And that's why these, the Kardashians and others make so much money, or those TV shows are that successful and still on the air.
Right.
Because that's what women are watching. Now, a sociologist, I haven't examined and done polling on women that watch it, why they watch it and not the WNBA, except for the fact, I guess logic would tell you, women aren't interested in basketball. Most women aren't interested in basketball to begin with.
Right.
And women's basketball, less interested.
Right.
But Caitlin Clark comes along, and she's the most entertaining one of the most entertaining players to watch play the game. Look, you had basketball analysts saying the men's game is boring compared to watching her play.
Right.
She shoots 40-footers and she passes like Bird, Maravich, or Magic.
And she might be the key to turning that around.
Yeah, she might be.
Maybe.
Yeah. And if it is, fine. If they make a profit, more people make more money. That's what we're about.
Well, and here's the question. If it does turn around, what will the demographic be? Will it be mostly men? Or will all of a sudden women start watching basketball? That's unlikely. It will probably be mostly men.
Yeah, I don't know what the audience is right now. I don't know what the audience breakdown of the WNBA is. Now, she does have a tremendous young
what it is right now, but I'm talking about growth. Where would the growth come from? Would there all of a sudden, what's the likelihood? Would it all of a sudden be women?
Well, you're not going to have
being interested that weren't watching basketball at all in the past.
No, it would be young women watching because, I'm talking about girls watching. That become.
I think some would, but if it grew into something big, it would require that a lot of men are watching it.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Carly and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, I look and I see the Democrats, the president jumping in on the whole Caitlin Clark WNBA salary, which is a rookie. It's a, rookie salary. That's a rookie contract that, they have designated, that's with apparently work it out with the union or whatever, what it's going to be.
Right.
The minimum, which is why she's making under $100,000, because you think about it, she should automatically be the highest paid player in the WNBA just by what she can bring to it. I mean, the audience that she may bring to it, you would think immediately that she would be there, but that's the rules. That's, you sign rookie contracts, that's what you get. And but the Democrats seem to be jumping, and the president is jumping on anything that he believes will get him the advantage, and nothing does. Because you look at social media, as I did, and I went through it, and you might have some people, well, women need more. We're not talking about opportunities. The opportunity is there. It just doesn't pay anything. There's a lot of opportunities that don't pay anything in this world. And in order to pay, you've got to produce. End of story. It seems like in sports, merit-based salaries is easily understood.
Yeah.
It may not be in other places, but it seems it's understood, because I would say it was 15-1 or 20-1 on all of social media saying, what are you talking about? They don't make a profit. There's no money to give her. They don't make a profit. They're subsidized by the NBA.
We all know how this works.
Yeah. How is this misogyny? Well, you just throw it out. You make the accusation, but you can't back it up.
Autonomous individuals in unison. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Veteran National Public Radio editor and reporter Yuri Berliner resigned from NPR yesterday after being suspended without pay for publishing a lengthy essay calling out the network's left-wing bias. Not only did he call it the bias, but what he called out was the censoring and getting a story wrong, getting three major stories wrong. The three major stories that we talk about all the time here. So it's interesting to see this come from a liberal, somebody who voted for Biden.
Right.
Didn't vote, not a Trump supporter.
Right.
Loyal Democrat. And just, went through and said the Russian hoax was completely a hoax. Yet they brought on Adam Schiff dozens of times. And when we found out that it was a complete hoax and that actually the whole thing was set up by the Hillary campaign, that NPR didn't cover it. He goes, it's one thing to get a story wrong, completely wrong. It's another thing that when you find out you got the story wrong, not to correct yourself on air and spend a significant amount of time, asking, why did we get it wrong?
Right.
And they did. And that was number one. Number two was the laptop story. Now, remember, this is coming from somebody who is a loyal Democrat liberal, but still believes in journalism.
Right.
And we know the laptop story turned out to be true. And he stated there, when they found that out, NPR really didn't spend any time covering that story. And the third one was COVID. These are all major stories that affected presidential elections. COVID, we know. Don't have to tell you how that affected the world in the United States. They got that wrong on the origins. And so he basically brought that to light. And his message was, it's one thing to get a story completely wrong. That's one thing. But what's even worse is when you know you got it wrong when the evidence comes in and you say nothing about that.
Right.
And that's because they're political activists there. And so he's out. They suspended him. He said, I'm resigning from NPR, a great American institution where I've worked for 15 years. I respect the integrity of my colleagues and wish for NPR to thrive and do important journalism. Berliner further detailed that he cannot work in a newsroom where I am disparaged by a new CEO whose divisive views confirm the very problems at NPR I cite in my free press essay, which is what we said yesterday. The entire response from NPR was, no, basically, we're political activists. And then there was a number of audio cuts that came out from the new CEO. This one was really interesting. You want to hear this one? Here's what she has said in her own words, and it backs up, because we'll get criticism, not as much as we used to, but we get criticism from the left. Well, you guys, that's your opinion. We don't believe this way, and we've said it many times before, that the liberal press today, the mainstream press, is about political activism, that they don't have interest in the truth. Well, let's see what the new NPR CEO, Catherine Mayer, has said. Here we go.
But what about the hard things, the places where we are prone to disagreement, say politics and religion? Well, as it turns out, not only does Wikipedia's model work there, it actually works really well. Because in our normal lives, these contentious conversations tend to erupt over disagreement about what the truth actually is. But the people who write these articles, they're not focused on the truth. They're focused on something else, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years of working with these brilliant folks, I've come to believe that they are onto something, that perhaps for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth might not be the right place to start. In fact, our reverence for the truth might be a distraction that's getting in the way of finding common ground and getting things done.
Do I have to go any further?
Nope. We've talked about it. The truth doesn't matter to the left.
Truth doesn't matter, right there. The only thing that
It gets
matters
in the way.
The only thing that matters is the truth.
Right. It gets in the way.
What is that?
Now, she's trying to position this as, again, some kind of higher moral ground.
Yes.
Of, because we're just trying to find common ground. Oh, no. The truth doesn't matter when we're trying to find common ground. Where's the common ground? Where's the common ground when you tell me that if I'm against my child having genital mutilation surgery, I'm an abusive parent, and you believe that the state should intervene?
That, I think, the radical transgender movement is one of the best points to use on it. I'm asking, can I ask about the whole transgender movement here, or people that are transgender? Would you explain it to me? No. Because you asking the question is transphobic. Yeah, but I have questions with this. You're saying that a biological man can be a biological woman because a biological man says so. Well, that defies all science. You're transphobic because of what you're doing right there. You will have people commit suicide over that. So in order to bring people together, you have to lie.
Mm-hmm.
That it isn't, no, people need to learn to handle the truth and accept the truth. That
Right.
we have to train people to be critical thinkers and not be offended by the truth. No, her entire thing is the truth is not as important as bringing people together. Sorry.
Well, okay, so let's take someone from her side. Fetterman, who has said since October 7th we should be supporting Israel. He's, been eviscerated online by these radicals on the left. There's common ground that he has with people on the right. Where's this common ground come from? And show me how the left as a movement is actually seeking common ground. It sounds all noble when they say it that way. But what she's saying is the truth gets in the way of our agenda.
Yeah, exactly. We're political activists, and the truth gets in the way.
Common ground, that's the BS that she's, that the left has been trying to get away with, this, again, higher moral ground that I'm for common ground, and even the truth doesn't matter. Only common ground matters. Show me that and demonstrate that, how the left as a movement is seeking common ground.
When you see what she said, my dad, of course, comes to my mind. The people in the audience listening to her, and she's smiling and she's saying it's so nice. And it's like, this is a perfect example of what my dad said. People want to be BS'd. Mm-hmm. They want to be BS, because what she's saying is, if we ignore the truth, we'll find common ground. No, you won't.
No, you won't.
If you're lying, if your beliefs are based on a lie, and your requirement is the other person, well, you need to lie 25% so we get along, you're never going to solve any problems. You are never going to come to an agreement or negotiation if everybody is lying.
Well, the truth, she's right in the truth gets in the way of common ground, because when you put the truth out there, then the far left doesn't have any common ground with the majority of Americans. When you look at Michael Rappaport doing a little homework, and by the way, this is on him for not doing it earlier, but on the whole Charlottesville comment, he did the homework and found the entire quote and said, I didn't know. The truth actually builds the common ground. The truth is what, for the left, it gets in their way of their agenda, or what they call common ground. What they're saying is, you come to our side. It's never the other way around. Well, the truth, when you lay it out there, people can say, all right, I can see it for what it is. I know what the truth is now, and we can all judge it from there. But the truth is paramount in any situation, and she's saying it gets in the way. It doesn't get in the way of anything. The truth can be buried for the longest time. When it eventually finds daylight, it's still the truth.
Yeah, the truth is the truth.
The lies have to be carried over and over and changed. Over and over and over and over, the truth remains. Everybody says, well, there's two sides to every story. No, there's not. There never has been. There's one side. It's the truth.
Now, you may analyze the truth in different ways. That has happened.
Yeah, based sometimes on like what you want to believe.
Well, no, because if you just for example, if you're talking about the deficit, you have the one side, we shouldn't carry deficits, and the other side, well, there are certain examples where we should have the deficit. But if you're denying that the deficit exists or the deficit is going down, as the president is doing constantly, I'm bringing the deficit down, and he's not. There is no place starting place, because it's based on a lie. So how do we negotiate? Do you give your lie and I give my lie, and we both negotiate on the lie? You don't accomplish anything by doing that, and you don't give anybody the perspective of any argument if both sides are based on a lie. And that's what she's talking about here, because she's saying the truth is getting in the way. Well, then if you're going to ignore the truth, then everybody is debating their fantasy.
Right. Or theory.
Or
because
theory,
the truth
yes,
the truth is separate from an approach. It's not, the truth is the truth. It doesn't change. It's it's a constant. Whatever the truth is on that item is a constant. And people can say, well, but my approach to do this in the future, now you're talking in the abstract. This is why right now the Democrats are getting, right now, they're feeling the heat of reality.
And reality
because the truth is at the door.
Well, reality is what? The truth.
Exactly. Yeah.
Reality is, yeah.
And you can't change that.
And that's the problem.
You can choose not to look at it.
But I see why she's saying this, because they know that the truth is hurting their cause now. The truth, which is reality, is the biggest enemy of the Democrats right now. So what's the next step? The next step is to be focused on the truth is the wrong idea.
Right.
Tell us where we're wrong or where we're right.
You have to lie to get your agenda done because the truth gets in the way.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
For Red Eye Radio, he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the top of the hour, some of the biggest BS you'll ever hear. This is just great. Oh, man. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. But I thought, again, it's wonderful that this audio is coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope this is the beginning of the end of any type of taxpayer subsidies for NPR, because it's made clear with the new CEO and with the suspension of Yuri Berliner. And she was actually asked yesterday and avoided the question, what about viewpoint diversity?
Right.
There's no viewpoint diversity at NPR. The taxpayers, look, NPR can do whatever the heck they want. They can't if they accept taxpayer dollars. So taxpayer dollars should go. You know, the stupidity of it is by this, everything happening here, they've just, cut off. Because look, back, way back when, you can go back 20 years ago, a lot of the things that they would bring to you, and NPR or even PBS would bring back, local documentaries that are really cool. You and I talk about, in fact, the local, PBS, for example. Some of the documentaries on Dallas music history is just pretty awesome stuff. It really, when you look back. But where they've gone now, you see here with NPR, and PBS is different, but NPR here is basically, we are political activists, and the truth doesn't mean anything to us.
Right.
Well, taxpayer dollars should be gone then.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. You want BS?
Why not?
This story here from Fox. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser attended the Masters. It was a taxpayer-funded trip. And she justified it by saying it's part of a sports and economic development visit. Now, she went to the Masters. She didn't go like to Augusta a week before the Masters. She went to the Masters.
Right.
Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser apparently traveled to the ritzy Masters golf tournament on the taxpayer's dime, writing off the expense as a business opportunity to promote sports and economic development in the nation's capital. The Masters in Augusta, Georgia, is more than 500 miles from Washington, D.C. According to the mayor's public schedule, Bowser attended the world-renowned golf tournament as part of a sports and economic development visit. A spokesperson confirmed that the airline flights to and from Augusta were paid for with city funds, though the cost of the flights was not released. In a phone call Monday, Bowser's communication director confirmed to the local outlet that Bowser was invited to the tournament by two people leading a new city task force to revitalize the Galleria Place and Chinatown neighborhood. They said that whether it's here in the city or in another city or another country, the mayor is willing to advance administrative interest, no matter the setting, including a golf tournament. The mayor sacrificed. She's willing to go as far as she has to, including the Masters Golf Tournament, to ensure that economic development is there for Washington, D.C.
You should be thanking the mayor for her service.
Thanking the mayor for her service and the willingness to leave home and travel somewhere else.
You didn't go to the Masters, did you? No. I don't see you making this sacrifice.
Any of you other mayors that didn't use taxpayer funds to go to the Masters, you don't care about economic development in your city. What a load of horse manure. I mean, my God.
I guess you got to put up the front, don't you?
Yeah. I never worked so hard in my life. I went to the Masters to make sure to see how economic development can be done.
It makes it, sound like somebody doing their taxes. Hey, can I write off Oreos?
I thought you were going to go to the patriotism route that Cuban went to the other day.
No, that would be stupid. It was then, and it still is.
That may be the most idiotic statement I've ever heard of attempting to virtue signal.
Yeah.
The first most patriotic thing you can do is serve this country. The second is pay your taxes.
Right.
So Mark Cuban's a patriot.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Never mind that he's compelled by law to do it.
Yes, exactly.
Don't look at that part.
The fact that I only go 2 miles over the speed limit and not the 12 that will get me a ticket is because I believe in America.
Well, I love my community, and the proof is that I bought things from a store in my community numerous times over my lifetime. I've actually, and I used my own money to do that.
Now, you got to make the analogy that you're obeying the law.
Well, by law, I have to pay for it. Can't just walk out of the store.
Oh, so the fact that you're not stealing, okay, because you're obeying the law, you're a patriot. Okay.
Right.
I see.
I know that doesn't work with the left. You're supposed to walk out of the store and get away with it. But,
since that relates to sports, and we did the whole thing on the WNBA and the president and, fair wages and, that the women should be paid fair. And it's like, then the number of responses yesterday, well, since they've never made a profit, then the fair share for any woman playing in the NBA should be 0. But it's amazing how the left, Jamel Hill, formerly of ESPN, and the president, they all jumped on it. And then you heard the talk from the left of misogyny. It's like, wait a minute. This league is subsidized by the men's league. It doesn't make a profit. Women don't support it to any level to make it where it would be able to be, paying, anything. So what is the fair share? And this is another example of where you hear terms that never have to be defined, which is really, when you think about it today, how the Democratic Party justifies everything.
Yeah.
We don't define anything. It's just, we don't define anything anymore. We just tell you that we're moral, and you're supposed to believe us.
Yeah.
We're telling you that this is the way that it works, even though we'll never tell you the way that it works.
Right.
So I saw that one, and then this one here on MSNBC. Listen to this. Here we go again. Major League Baseball's few black players left should be a warning about the war on DEI.
Here we go.
The number of black American players in Major League Baseball has plummeted to just 6%, offering a warning about what can happen when institutions de-emphasize diversity.
Of course.
As if blacks are being kept out of Major League Baseball because of their skin color.
Well, think about it. You have to go to that point because you have to say, imagine someone with enormous talent. Yeah, but we don't want to pick that person for our team because, that's insane. When has that ever happened in professional sports in the modern age?
It doesn't. And when the funniest thing here is when they say this is the Major League Baseball, this problem is because because remember, DEI is about the fact that you need to have diversity, equity, and inclusion, even if it doesn't make your company better.
Mm-hmm.
It's another form of affirmative action. They're asking for affirmative action in baseball, not meritocracy. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Which everybody knows that's how sports runs, which was the big thing yesterday when it came to, the WNBA. And that means that your excellence draws in a huge audience, which then where's the revenue comes from, which is then, if they can make a profit after expenses, is how you're paid.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't see it that way. So, like DEI and everything now, DEI in sports.
Well, yeah, it must be racism that's what's behind the drop in the percentage of black players in Major League Baseball. That it has to be that. That has to be it. Because they don't have anything else. So, you have to go to the next logical step, and that is, okay, what's to be done? Well, then government needs to come in and impose a rule and say, all right, Major League Baseball, forget Major League Baseball, Major League Sports. And every club has to meet this standard. So you have to be bringing people onto your team, not based on talent, not based on performance, based on their ethnicity. That's insane. Because it implies that, where we started with this, it implies that Major League Baseball is keeping black players out of the game. And in order to take it further, what they'll say is, yeah, but there are some that should be included based on their skin color. It's not based on performance at all. And that's how you get to inclusion, equity. And then you got to talk about earnings in Major League Baseball. Now, in terms of equity, everybody's going to have to get the same result. The players are all going to have to get the same financial result, which is pay. And that's not how any of this works.
No. And there's
no one making the charge, except for this implication here. No one that has been making the charge that Major League Baseball is keeping black players out of the game. No one. Show me the stories. By the way, they would be everywhere. They would be everywhere. That's not what's going on.
I think it was Jason Whitlock. I was watching one of his podcasts, and he said, expect that, he's, and just so people know, he's black.
Mm-hmm.
He said, expect that you will see fewer blacks in sports overall because of everything that's happening in sports, the travel leagues. I mean, I know my great nephew is always, he wasn't around last weekend. He's a sophomore, and he plays on 2 or 3 teams. When you get to that level and you want to be proficient at it, you're on more than just your high school team. There's all these travel teams. And Whitlock was making the case that because you have more of the nuclear family in certain ethnicities, and because of mother-led, so many still, single mothers leading black families, that you don't have the family infrastructure to get the child, to be playing in all of these different sports, leagues in order to become as proficient as the other ones, that it becomes, it's, and I understand it because I think of my great nephew always being shuffled. He's got this one, he's playing on, this AAU team and then this other team.
Right.
I think the only time he plays on one team is during his high school basketball season. And I think he's on 2 other teams and doing other sports, constantly being shuffled all over the place because that's what you have to do in order to, to become one of the most proficient at that age. Doesn't mean you'll get anywhere in college or afterwards, but if that's your goal to become as good as possible, that a family infrastructure is needed to do that. And it was a really interesting sociological point I thought that he made.
Interesting. Yeah, right.
And he said, so.
Well, you think about what it takes to develop the talent to the point that they become, professionals. That because you're doing that all of your life. You start as a kid, but the family has to be involved every step of the way. There has to be strong family support for something like that because it's nonstop. It is nonstop. And if they, are lucky enough to reach professional status, that's the pinnacle. That's it.
Well, let's put it this way. Whenever I come back for a weekend, if he's in town, I become the chauffeur for my great nephew.
Yeah.
And it's like,
right.
Okay, all right, you're coming in town. When are you going to be in town? Well, he needs to go here, He's got to be picked up here. He's got this workout over here. He's got this basketball over there. Somebody's always got to be shuffling you around.
Yeah, right.
And I thought there was an interesting point that Jason Whitlock made. This goes back about a month ago. He goes, expect that you will see fewer blacks in higher echelon sports because you really need a nuclear family just to shuffle the kids around.
Right.
I went, oh, that's really interesting.
Right.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important and one of the easiest to monitor and adjust as needed. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, avoid hugging the right side of the road, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds, especially crosswinds. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Friday Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. What were you looking at there? You were looking at a story from CNBC before on the economy?
Yeah.
Or on rates?
On rates. It's interesting because economists seem to sober up yesterday, and we were asking, in late December when they were saying, rate cuts probably as early as March of 24. And, of course, we were going, wait, what? Why do you think that? And so here's the story. Wall Street pushes out rate cut expectations, sees risk that they don't start until March of 2025. Risk? Okay. Economists and strategists now see the Fed waiting until at least September to cut interest rates and are increasingly entertaining the possibility of no reductions at all this year. Bank of America economists say there's a real risk in quotations there, that the Fed won't cut until March of 2025 at the earliest. Though, for now, they're still going with a December forecast. And here's what's interesting. I saw a couple of other forecasts that said, maybe November, December of this year. November, December. What would be the significance of waiting until November, December? Oh, that pesky election, November 5th. Because you go with a rate cut. I don't think they're going to do it this year. But if they did, it would be after the election. You do a rate cut, you're going to tell the world you're not serious about inflation. If the pace of inflation continues at where we are right now in the first quarter, and the super core inflation right now is at an annualized pace of 8%. So if you, in the face of all that, if that stays that, at that pace until then, November, past the election, November, December, and you still cut rates, you're saying, you're admitting you were never serious about inflation. And, of course, you're setting up the next administration.
That's a great way to look at it, because I think a lot of people in the media would be looking at it as another way, that if you cut the rates, well, then it shows that inflation is over. But the market wouldn't look at it that way, because they know inflation's not over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't expect a cut this year, but I guess we'll see.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. See Biden yesterday calling for a tripling of the tariffs on Chinese steel. Speaking from the United Steelworkers headquarters, Biden called on the United States Trade Representative to consider tripling the existing 7.5% tariff rate on Chinese steel and aluminum through a review of the Section 301 tariff rate, pending a conclusion of a 4-year review. Officials expect the ongoing review to be completed soon, and the trade representative could take action to enhance the effectiveness of it. Now, you and I have talked about tariffs in general, and we're against them. And one of the criticisms we had during the Trump administration was not the possible tariffs on China because of the cheating that China does.
Right.
It was the tariffs with our normal trade partners, where we believe without question that the goal of the United States should be to do everything we can to increase trade with all of our massive Western friendly trading partners. And what you do is you hope to punish China or exclude China even though you're going to take a hit, even if you're doing the right thing with China and putting tariffs on because you believe that they're cheating.
Right.
When you put a tariff on, it doesn't matter whether it's against China and you believe it's morally justified, or just because you believe it will give you an economic advantage. Tariffs do not give you an economic advantage. Tariffs hurt the country putting the tariffs on.
Yep.
It's an increase in cost.
Yep.
And whether it was, I mean, we've been through this. How many times have we been through this since 2000? Remember the Bush steel tariffs?
Oh,
They
yeah.
had to reverse them.
Right.
Because what happens is, you've got Biden out there, and Biden, again, is the effort, for China going because China is our enemy, because they're cheating? Is it a combination of both? Well, you may feel it's justified to do so. Understand, though, that putting those tariffs on China hurts the American economy. It doesn't help. It may help the steel workers and the steel companies who can sell fewer bars of steel and make more of a profit on it. Because if they raise the tariffs another 15%, expect the cost of steel to go up 15%. And what you find out is, okay, what we do is, this is smart politicians, you go in and say, we're going to help the steel industry and the United Steelworkers. We're going to put tariffs on steel coming in from China.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, steel companies will do better, as they have before. Anybody who buys steel or needs to buy steel does worse in the United States, because the cost of their steel goes up.
Right.
And therefore, what you have seen, and this is when the Bush administration did it. Well, how long was it? Was it like 14 months when they had to pull it?
Yeah,
because
think it was within 18 months they had to pull it.
Because they realized the job losses outside of the steel industry were greater than the jobs kept or gained in the steel industry.
Well, you had manufacturers having to leave because they had no choice. The cost of steel was running up their cost to the point that they couldn't be profitable if they stayed.
And this is, again, because one of the things we disagree with Trump is him saying the 10% tariff if he becomes president on all products coming in from everywhere.
Right.
Now, he probably can't do that because we have trade agreements.
Right.
So he would need Congress to rewrite trade agreements to do that. But that seems to, even with Republican populists, that sounds great because we're protecting our own industries. No, you're protecting the industry where the tariff applies. You're hurting all other American industry that has to buy that product from that one industry that you're attempting to increase the profits of these mega corporations. Okay, I got to throw that out.
Yeah,
I'll throw a little bit of political rhetoric in there.
Right, yeah.
And that's the thing you have to realize is that, and America doesn't, because America loves tariffs. Because it helps that company. Yeah, but it hurts anybody who's buying from that company. Well, then they just have to suck it up. Oh, okay, that's a great economic answer. I like that. So overall, a policy of increasing costs artificially by the government that hurts the majority of companies that use that product in order to make the one company that makes the profit more profitable. That's, again, government attempting to manipulate an economy by picking the winners and losers. Now, it may be the correct moral view in China to do that. But to me, most tariffs are political pandering to a voting demographic that you wish to get their vote.
Right.
And as we know with tariffs, as the late Milton Friedman said, we all know who tariffs help because we're told. What we never see is the companies and the jobs that are hurt because of it, because of the higher costs to buy that product. And we saw it during the Bush administration. We saw it when Trump did it. and you'll see it again now if this happens. Why? Because this is interesting because people believe that economics is an opinion, and it's not.
Well, no, and when you see the cost of materials go up, and in the case of steel, you saw a lot of the manufacturers of the appliances, the larger home appliances, were saying we can't get around it. We have to raise the cost or the price of our product, and there's no way around that. That kind of inflation on top of the inflation we already have. By the way, if you're an outgoing administration, there are a couple of things. Biden looks at this, right? Tripling this against China. Use that as your political leverage because the populace is going to jump on board, right? As we've mentioned, the populace is all about tariffs. And then hoping you can enact it. But even if you only get part of it done, maybe if you don't triple it, but you increase it greatly, and it doesn't matter if you're on your way out the door, because that cost is then going to be passed on to the consumer as you're leaving and the other guy's coming in.
Well, the other guy wants it, though.
I know.
Well, he states he wants it.
Right. And you're going to be and he's going to have to deal with what? Reversing the pain because of the pain involved if Biden were to get this done. You're going to have to reverse it. I don't know of a time when they didn't have to reverse in modern years where they didn't have to reverse the steel tariff.
Well, if you had, we talk about inflation and the problem it is right now. And we talk about, for example, cars. Well, how much steel is used in cars?
Right.
Less than used to be.
Yeah, right.
No, but everything.
Now let's talk about plastic tariffs.
But when you're dealing with inflation, and this is why we thought it was really interesting when Trump brought it up that he would have 10% across the board tariffs on every product that came into the United States from everywhere. Well, you've got trade agreements. You can't do that. But hypothetically, if you did that now, if you did that in November and you're trying to fight inflation and you have a 10% tariff on every product that comes into the United States, and then what was he saying, 40%, 50%, 60% tariffs on everything coming in from China?
Right, yeah.
You're never going to get inflation under control for another decade.
No.
And that's why when you don't have inflation and you do minor tariffs, you may be able to get away with it. But the thing is, everything is about the cost. Right now, people judge the economy not by how many jobs there are, not by corporate profits. There's only one thing they judge it on, and it's inflation.
Yep.
And so Biden, when he said that yesterday, I'm thinking, well, if they did that right away and you went up to 21% from 7.5%, so you'd be over 23, 24% on steel, which would then skyrocket, across the board.
Oh, yeah.
Everything that uses steel,
it would be massive.
You're looking at the Fed going, we have no idea when we're going to raise rates.
Right.
Or we're lower rates, excuse me.
Yeah.
Because everything is about that. So that's a problem. Even if you believe, and we believe that China has to be checked in some way. But in order to check China, you hurt your own economy.
And there's the thing, too. What you have to do, if you were to approach it, in my opinion, you would have to have all of your other trade partners. This is where it would be a bit of a conundrum. This is why you don't talk tariffs with anybody else, right? It's only about China. And you get with every other trade partner who are also trading with China, and everybody together stands against China and says, you get your intellectual property rights situation solved now, or the world's going to choke you out. But you have to get everybody on board. Look, easier said than done. But that would have to be the approach, to let China know that our attempt will be to carve you out as a pariah.
Right.
On trade.
And we stated that during the Bush administration, during the Trump administration.
Right. So it wouldn't be. It's the tariffs are part of it, but the follow-up, the real follow-up, is having all of your other trade partners stand with you against China to say this has to end.
But you can't be in a trade war with everybody.
No, that's why I was saying
that was the
you
point.
can't. You have no other tariffs in place, or you change no other tariff situation. You certainly don't raise them with anyone else. It's all about China, and then you go to the table against China with all your other trade partners, the world trade partners, which includes a ton of trade with China, from them, and that pressure has to be in unison. Again, easier said than done, but you look at the big ones. You have to take the big ones with you. You have to take Great Britain. You have to take, Europe with you.
Asia
has
Asia
to,
with you.
Yeah.
South America,
Right.
Canada and Mexico,
Right.
You've got to you need to form a in essence
global trade pact.
Yeah, with the Western countries that won't cheat.
Right.
The Western countries and developing countries that won't cheat, or that you've had trade agreements with.
Right.
That that they're honoring them.
Well, and remember the Namaste Trump rally in India. What was that about?
Yeah.
It was about Trump looking toward India, saying, "All right, if there's going to be a big trade partner, because it's based on population, workforce, and what could be done, what could develop there. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you look more toward an India as opposed to China, right? Mm-hmm. That's why they held that rally. It was about, wow, imagine the expansion of wealth in India. For them, obviously, that would be outstanding. And if you had that kind of, if you could rely on a trade partner, if India could develop into a trade partner like a China is, without all the, communism and intellectual property issues, not that there wouldn't be with India, there would also have to be some eyes on that. And that's, the oversight is key. You're going to have to watch everything. And the U.S. government didn't do anything about that, by the way. That innovation creates wealth. But when they steal it, it depletes wealth, including wealth here in the U.S.
86690 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. But you do have to fit that into the equation. If Biden was successful, let's say right now, and this is hypothetical, if he was successful in getting the tripling of the China steel tariffs, which would raise the cost of U.S. steel, as we know, it would raise the cost significantly of American-made steel. You have to wonder how the Fed would price that into when they would be able to have a Fed rate cut, knowing that that would also feed into higher inflation pressures.
Yeah, because it would feed into wholesale inflation, which would give you an idea of where inflation overall would be going, and that's it. That producer price index, of what they look at, and we've seen it before. They know what it looks like because we've been through it before. So those producers look at that and say, we don't have any choice. So when it comes to appliances, vehicles, and everything else that requires steel to make it, you're going to see major increases.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.